The Intermountain Healthcare Center in Henderson, Nevada, with JT the Brick, Eric Allen, and Q.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 on Raider Nation Radio, and now we're on the Raiders YouTube channel along with Q Myers, Kirk Morrison, Eric Allen. I'm JT. What a great day to be here in Las Vegas, day 2 of the draft, and we welcome in Kirk Morrison. I don't know how to introduce you anymore. I got Sirius XM, ESPN LA, Raider legend, everything that you're doing now. Welcome into the studio and tell us about Vegas. What have you seen here the last couple of days?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me, man. It's great to be amongst some of the dignitaries when I'm next to EA, Eric Allen, man, one of the great Raiders. Obviously, the iconic voice of JT the Brick, and me and Q, I don't know how long we go back to when I was a young pup.
Hey, man, I was sitting next to Captain Kirk's dad at the Coliseum watching the game on the third deck. So, yeah, we go way back.
Yeah, we go way back, man. But it's been it's been a different energy here. And I think that whenever you get off the plane in Las Vegas and you're going to the airport, that's already an energy and a buzz here. But it was about the entertainment. It was about the weekend of having fun and going to parties and all that. But for the first time, I truly felt getting off the plane, there was a buzz because there was a big event going on. And it was not about entertainment. This is about the NFL. And you can just sense it with the different jerseys that are now walking around town. Obviously, the Raiders have really taken over since they've been here in Las Vegas to a point where I really felt like I was going to a Super Bowl type of city. Like, they've done this before. I've been really impressed because I was saying, can Vegas pull it off? Can they pull off a big event? And look, Pro Bowl is an event in itself, but we know the draft and the Super Bowl are the crown jewels of the NFL. And I'm walking around down by the different, by the link, by the Bellagio, and I'm saying I can get used to this. I'm to the point where can you keep the draft here in Vegas?
Right. Yeah.
Kansas City next year, I don't know. Let's just keep it here.
Yeah. You just came off the Super Bowl with your work with the Rams, so you saw Inglewood pop and what happened with the new 2 stadiums. Isn't it amazing, Kirk, with 2 new stadiums on the West, in Vegas and out in Inglewood, what it's done for the economy of the NFL now as people are looking back saying L.A., Vegas, and how that's exploding from Oakland in your years there. It just seems like the energy is here in Vegas. This is what Mark Davis wanted, and it delivered for the draft.
I think it's turning into destination cities or locations. I thought that having the draft here, and we know it was supposed to be a couple years ago, but to have the draft here and let everybody see that they're missing out on one of the biggest parties ever for the NFL. Like, because I'm going around, I'm seeing people who are excited to be here for the NFL draft, but they've also got time to go out and visit Las Vegas and see that it's so much more than just a strip. Like, people are having an amazing time just going around. I mean, I've met so many people down in the lobby of the hotels, and they're just like, yeah, we came from New York. We're here from the Midwest. And so just to think that the NFL now has sort of this new generation of stadiums and entertainment for people to come out and just celebrate the great game of football.
Eric Allen, you've been on the West Coast, based in San Diego. You live here. You're on TV all the time here. What'd you think? We hosted at Dre's, and then we were able to walk around, and as you were getting back to your hotel last night, thinking of the entire day and what it looked like on TV, and you were right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and it looks like it felt like it's meant to be. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's just so many people that come to town, and it never gets old. See, some cities you go to, you got downtown. Once you go through 2 or 3 times, you're like, okay. But there's so much to see here in Vegas, so many great restaurants, and you can get to Henderson. You can chill out in Henderson for a while and do the offset stuff, and then you can get downtown and do that. So the Strip is always popping. It's just so many other things other than just downtown, just the Strip. So many other opportunities for people to enjoy themselves.
Q, you were walking around because you set us up on radio. You've done an amazing job. We couldn't believe the size of the footprint of the stage all the way back to the high roller. And then you walked out, and we were looking down at Dre's and looking down at the Bellagio fountains. Yeah. And to see everybody walking up and down the Strip with no cars, it felt like Mardi Gras.
It really did. That was the beauty of it, was being able to walk. And I parked really far away because I knew they were shutting down the streets. But I wanted to be able to soak it in and get the vibe of the fans that are here. And I love going to Radio Row for the Super Bowl, But the draft for me is even better because every fan base is represented.
Right,
every single one. Because everyone's getting better.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting
The
better.
hope is alive.
That's the hope is alive, right? Everyone's going to be the next best team. To see it and feel the energy, like Kirk said, I mean, you could tell it was going to be something big and monstrous. And when you walk and you go past the high roller and you look down and you just see a sea of people and that monstrous stage, it just almost brings you chills.
It was amazing. Kirk, what did you think because of Davante Adams? We knew this for about
Right.
2 or 3 weeks that there was going to be no pick, and maybe the Raiders can do something moving up. But it's amazing that they got a couple of players, especially signing Max long-term and Derek with his extension. But you look at Chandler Jones, but especially Davante Adams, to have him, and then there was a run on all those receivers, and the Raiders got the best one in the offseason.
Well, it just goes to the creativity, I think, of Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, because when you look at some of the other receivers that have been traded or going to new teams, a lot of them are going to teams that still have the quarterback on the rookie contract, right? When you think of Tyreek Hill going to Miami, Tua Tagovailoa is on a rookie contract. You see A.J. Brown going to Philadelphia. Well, Jalen Hurts is on a rookie contract. So to see the Raiders able to get Davante Adams in a trade and still be able to reward your quarterback and bring in a Chandler Jones, that was your draft. That was you hit a home run back in free agency that you won your first round of your draft. So now when you get into the third round, you're able to select the best player available for a couple of needs that you may have. Not a guy who's going to come in and just have to be a starter right away, but you can add depth in some certain positions, and you did that because you already got your work done in trading for Davante Adams. That's why I think it's a different vision that I'm seeing with these Raiders than maybe in years past. You're like, why are we doing this? Why are we? Oh, I see now. Like you see it before to where you don't have to question it.
What about the ripple effect also? Davante Adams, they trade for him,
Right.
and then you see one domino, another domino drop, and we're seeing it still. A.J. Brown, you see a Hollywood Brown get
Right.
moved. All this really kind of started with the Raiders and Davante Adams, and then Christian Kirk getting signed in free agency as well from the Jaguars.
Well, I think it's you have to value player over asset. I think that's the new NFL. Because, hey, I can have multiple first-round picks, and yes, your hope they pan out. That's what the draft is. I always say the draft is about hope. You're hoping that they pan out. But when you know you have a for sure commodity, I know what that looks like. We were teasing about the Eagles because Howie Roseman can't get it right drafting a wide receiver, right? Whether it's J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Jalen Reagor. You know what? I know what A.J. Brown can do.
Right.
I'm going to give up my draft picks for it, so I don't get it wrong. I think that's where the new NFL is going now, where you're going to get player over commodity. I can go out and I can hope if I'm the Raiders and draft a first-round edge rusher. Or I can go out and sign Chandler Jones, and I know what I'm getting, right?
Exactly.
I know I'm getting a perennial all-pro, Pro Bowl type player, and I'm getting that all 17. I don't have to worry about him adjusting. He just goes and be you. So that's where I think teams are saying, you know what, if we have to ante up and get that, if we have the flexibility in our cap, we have to go out and make a move like that.
Yeah, you had an exclusive with Davante. It's up at Raiders.com. It was fantastic. And what was your takeaway from sitting down with him about his focus, the relationship with Derek Carr? And as I told you yesterday, I wasn't shocked he left Aaron Rodgers. Not many players have ever left a back-to-back MVP. In the history of this league, no one walks away from a back-to-back MVP. It had nothing to do with money. He wanted to be with Derek. What was that conversation about?
Yeah, first of all, I think, again, the relationship is tight between him and Derek, really tight. But, again, it takes an organization to go out and extend, that opportunity, right? It has to be, hey, here's what we have. Here's our plan.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing that has to happen for a player of his caliber to leave a place like Green Bay, where he's been to multiple playoffs, been to championship games, had tremendous success. So, again, I don't think the money was really the issue. He was going to get paid no matter what. I just think, first of all, this organization needed to extend that opportunity and say, you know what, this is what we want. This is our vision for you and Derek Carr. Best of both worlds. Able to get the best football player, receiver on the planet, and then be able to sign your quarterback, right? Sign your edge rusher, who you believe is the heart and soul of your defense. Bring someone in to help him grow in Chandler Jones. But Davante is going to change the building,
Right.
because of his view of where he sits as a player now, where he wants to sit when he's finished, the work that he's been able to accomplish already and the work he believes is still out there. He wants to be the best receiver on the planet every single year. And I've told you this story, JT. The thing that popped off to me was when I'm talking to players, great players, what fuels you? Where's your chip? We all have the chip on our shoulder, all of us, if you want to be great. And right away, he named off those 8 receivers who went before him in the draft. Right.
Yeah.
He knew them, right? And he's kind of check marking them, just his ability to affect how many receivers in the league run routes now.
Right.
And so, I mean, he was a professional. He's a professional receiver. He's he's a surgeon. That's what he wants to be called. He's a surgeon. Does an outstanding job on and off the football field. Great family man.
Q, let's start with you, and we'll go around the horn here on what the Raiders need to accomplish today. 3rd round pick. Maybe they move up.
Right.
I've always said if they're going to move up, they move up 5 spots. They're going to have to go after the player specifically that they love in that war room right down the hall here. What do you think the priority needs to be, making sure they can get a player that can start, come in here and have an impact on a team that won 10 games last year?
Yeah, I think that you're looking for a guy that could be the most impactful at that position. In the 3rd round at number 86, if they do stay in that spot, you're looking for that impactful player, and you kind of wonder exactly what position that's going to be. I look at defensive tackle as a position that may be an area that they're trying to explore. I look at cornerback. I mentioned that before. Linebacker. I think that's an area. I think the offensive lineman in reality is going to be a guy that's going to be a developmental guy. So you might get a guy in the 4th round. You might get him a little, maybe in the 2 5th-round picks you have, you go get an offensive lineman that you feel like can develop. But I'm looking for an impactful player in the 3rd round. Defensive tackle or corner are probably the 2 that I'm really looking at the most.
I think even before the Raiders even draft, right now, this is a better football team than the team that went to the playoffs last season. Right now, arguably, we can say that they're better today than they were in January, having lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. So to me, pick 86 is more of a luxury pick to me. Okay. Because I'm not expecting that guy to come in as a starter, but I'm expecting him to be a key contributor. I look at where Malcolm Kuntz or Divine Diablo from last year, those guys developed and they've pushed themselves and now can earn a starting spot in year 2. I think that's where the Raiders will go in that 3rd round pick, is that it could be along the offensive line and add more help for Derek Carr, more protection for him. But also, too, you may have to throw a couple more darts in the secondary, right? And more guys. I still want a grown-up in the back room, and maybe that could be Deron Harmon, a guy who comes in and can show them, hey, this is how we do things. Because the Raiders are very young, but they can establish a secondary for years to come. When you look at Trayvon Moore, when you look at Trayvon Mullen as well, Nate Hobbs, they're still very young pups.
Very young.
They are.
So that is another area for me. And then maybe you go along the defensive front. Is there a linebacker out there that you feel that you can team up with Denzel Perriman as well? Like there's so many different ways I think that they go. But I say it's more of a luxury than a need. Like, it's like, oh, they need to get a starter with this pick. Like, the Raiders are just going to pick a good football player.
Right.
And that's, I think, some of the ease that Dave and Josh have put on themselves, that they don't have to go in there looking for a starter to come in and be an impactful player right away.
Yeah, I think it's important for Dave Ziegler. This is his first pick.
Yes.
As a GM. He's been an assistant in the past, what he's had coming up in the league and talking to him. He's excited about that, but I just don't know. Because they've been stealth this offseason. We had no idea what they were doing. My phone's blowing up. I'm on a trip. I'm like, what? And this is going to be interesting today. Could they move back? Could they move back potentially and get an extra pick in the 4th round or do something there? Or do you think best available player? Because I know the secondary is a concern.
Yeah, best available player, the evaluation process is very important. If you want someone to come in and compete, that has to be defensive back or linebacker. Those are the kind of guys in the 3rd round that you may find who fit your system. Again, going back to that same kind of motto of being smart, loving football, being versatile. If you want to have someone to come and compete, linebacker, defensive back. Those are the areas where you can find those players in the 3rd, 4th round who have something that you see that's unique to your vision that you can come. Depth-wise, it's about both lines, defensive tackle and offensive line. Those are the depth positions you want to find in those rounds. So, again, defensive tackles are interesting because, again, those are areas where my evaluation and your evaluation can be completely different. I have two amazing edge rushers right now who I know are going to get after the quarterback. So now, do I want a defensive tackle who's going to really give issues to that guard, to that center by that great jet rush, that bull rush? Or do I want a guy who's going to be a run stopper who I can plug in on first and second down to add that depth? So very interesting to see what happens and what direction they go today.
Kirk, I'll start with you on Derek Carr. When you're on NFL radio, you saw the contract,
right,
knowing that he's going to have to play well to keep that contract going into the next year and the year after that. There's big money throughout that contract for them. And he's got weapons. Hunter Renfrow. Remember Tim told us yesterday that he said he would usually catch 50 or 70 balls.
He's
I'm
like,
I hope Hunter's not listening.
50 and not 100.
You know, he's on his way. But with Derek now, isn't it about protecting him? I mean, you got to give him time to get going. And the Raiders with Leatherwood as a first-round pick, Colton Miller, I think, is going to begin his run of going to Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl here. But the interior of that offensive line just flat out got to get better.
Yeah, and look, Denzel Good's coming off of injury. You think about Andre in his second year as a true starter at center. So, look, adding another piece to the offensive line to hopefully develop, yes, that's what you want for Derek. But I think the brilliance of Josh McDaniels and how he will now coordinate this offense is that the Raiders will be very multiple in who they are. There's going to be some multiple tight end sets. There's going to be 3 wide receiver sets. There's going to be a fullback used at times. And I'm just going back more so to my times of going up against that offense and knowing that you never know what you're going to get. You know, each week the game plan changes. It's not the same. So I think that helps out, too, the offensive line, knowing that, hey, we're going to give you different looks. We're going to give you different looks in terms of getting the ball out quicker, getting the ball to the outside. And when you got an Edwards now, when you have Davante Adams, when you have Darren Waller, it's just getting the ball out, putting it in their hands.
Right.
And then you have Mac Hollins now who can take the top off the defense a little bit. The Raiders got multiple guys, I think, that can contribute where you're not just focused on one player.
Feels like there's a lot of competitors. You know, EA talked about it earlier. You want to have competitors. I think that contract that you mentioned with Derek Carr brings out that competitive juice in him as well, you know, because he agreed to a deal that some would look at and say, yeah, I don't think I really want to sign that one. But he said, hey, I'm good. Yeah. You know, I want to be here. I want to be a Raider. I want to lead this team, and I'll prove who I am. You know, you talk about who has that chip on his shoulder. He's still rocking with that chip on his shoulder. 8-9 years into the league, still says, that's fine. You give me a year deal, I'll go get 2. I'll go get 3. I'll go get 4. He's comfortable like that.
I want to stay with something that Kirk said, EA, and I'll throw it to you on what you've seen with the Patriots over the decades. When you think about what's happened in the past of this New England team in the past and what you've seen with their offense with Gronk when they had the 2 tight ends, what they do at running back, and the way methodically Brady was able to throw short, right? He threw short 8-9 yard chunks in the heyday as they were winning Super Bowls. How do you think that's going to fit in with the Raiders' offensive personnel?
That's a great point. And that's really the question that all these defenses are going to have to answer when they face the Raiders. Because when you look at the Patriots, it depends on who their personnel is and who they are from week to week. They'll change on you from halftime to halftime.
Exactly.
So if you have Randy Moss, they're throwing the ball deep. Right? We have a guy like Randy Moss on our football team. When they have Julian Edelman, they're taking advantage of that red zone slot guy. We have that guy in Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
And when you need a really critical third down, when you have everyone spread and you have Gronk in the middle, we have Gronk and Waller. So this makes the point that this team is going to be very, very versatile, being able to attack whatever the defense. And that's what I like about this organization now is because they're a situational football team. And whenever you talk about the Patriots, that's the one thing that keeps coming up time and time again. There's situational football. So wherever you're lacking defensively or offensively, we're going to attack that. We're going to really attack that area of your football team to see if you can compensate for that, and then we're going to have a left jab for you. So, again, they have a little bit of everything. And I think the only real question, again, goes back to Josh and running back. Is Josh going to be the kind of guy we can rely on to handle the load in those games where we need to run the football to keep the ball away from a Charger football team that has dynamic athletes? That's the one question I still have about, what's going to happen with our team.
I think that's the scary part, though, too, because I'm just thinking of Rex Burkhead, James White, right? Brandon Bolden, who the Raiders have now. Remember, it was Sony Michel. Like, think about the backs that the Raiders have now and that Josh McDaniels can use now. Hey, I don't know what Amir Abdullah can bring, but he can bring something, right? Brandon Bolden knows the offense. Kenyon Drake now knows Josh Jacobs. And I think that's the way that his Josh McDaniels' offenses have been. It's been multiple. Yeah. Everybody does something different. But it also forces the defense to have to put their thinking cap on to know who's in the game, what's his strengths, what's his weaknesses, is it primary, is it not? And we know that week to week it could change. And so that's why I think even now I'm just watching the Raiders offense. I'm like, where do you start? Where do you stop?
Loaded.
You know what I mean? It's like it's truly loaded. And, then you have guys who you're still bringing up too. I mentioned Bryan Edwards earlier. I think that he's going to flourish in this offense because of the attention that will be on Renfrow, the attention that's going to be on Davante Adams. Now it's time for that third guy to truly get the catches, get the numbers. And that's why I think the Raiders they're building their offense that way. And then we used to tease about Derek, he's checked the ball down. Well, with this offense, he may have to check the ball down because of so many people taking, and that's going to be great for his percentage, but he understands that there'll be opportunity for the home run ball.
When we come back, and I hope everybody's at our YouTube channel on the Raiders page here, we'll get into more of the evaluation of what Dave Ziegler's seeing along with Josh McDaniels, maybe a couple of the best players that are available at linebacker and on the offensive line, and we'll get behind Las Vegas, putting on one of the greatest parties in the history of this city. You're listening to our Day 2 draft coverage here on Raider Nation Radio.
Davante Adams, Las Vegas Raiders, number 17.
Delivers a strike to Davante Adams. He is unstoppable.
My play style, I'm an aggressive go-getter. I like to call myself a go-getter on the football field. Pretty well-rounded. I like to, go out there and make plays, whatever it takes, whether it's a short ball, deep ball, intermediate. Obviously, they talk about the route running, but, the catching, all of the pieces put together is ultimately what I think makes me.
Pass down the way, Davante Adams. Down the sideline, Davante Adams is in.
It's a dream come true. Everything I try to represent well for my family, organization, with everything I do, but now I got added incentive to come out here and do it, putting on the silver and black. I got a nice little deal right there. I meant to show the media earlier, but that's just another little thing that I got carrying with me. I carry it like it's on my back for everybody to see, because obviously you can't make a whole lot of mistakes when they know exactly who you are. So my hood may be on, but I'm rolling around trying to make the Raiders family proud, my family, and everybody else that supports me proud.
60 years in the making, the Raiders now have a permanent place to call home, and the doors are open to get a world-class behind-the-scenes tour of their new home. An attraction unlike any other in Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium. The Las Vegas Raiders invite you to experience the expertly guided tour that includes exclusive access to areas restricted to only football players, coaches, and staff. For more information, visit AllegiantStadium.com/tours.
Hey, I took a shot, and I'm happy I did. Before the Gator Bowl, I had choice to go to Detroit, and I had choice to go to Oakland. Both leagues offered you the same money, the AFL and the NFL. So there wasn't any difference in the money. Then I was thinking, okay, well, it's the old NFL. There's a lot of running. And then you can take the AFL, and you're throwing the ball 35, 45 times a game. With that in mind, I felt that I fit in better there as a player. That was a big thing for us, going there and winning and beating Oklahoma in a Gator Bowl and being on national TV. We beat them good. We dominated them. Al signed me right after the game on the sideline there. And I was happy about it. So before I even got in the locker room, I had signed the contract.
A deal involving Super Bowl winning quarterback Russell Wilson.
The AFC West will include Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, and Russell Wilson.
Some breaking news that we bring you here today. Khalil Mack is on the move.
The terms are now agreed to. Khalil Mack about to be an LA Charger.
The AFC West is stacking up. It looks like an all-star game.
Well, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, J.C. Jackson, is now coming to the Chargers.
It seems like every big-name player these days going to the AFC West.
I'll tell you what, you got to give
give big props to the Denver Broncos for what they've done so far in this offseason. They land a franchise quarterback, and now you get one of the best pass rushers in this league.
This looks like a 3 playoff team division to me. When you look at it, it's just absolutely stacked.
Sometimes it's survival of the fittest, and maybe the team out of the AFC West will end up winning it all this year.
We all know what the Chiefs can do. The Broncos and Chargers are loading up. Now, all eyes are on the Raiders.
There's always guys that, that are very talented, that for whatever the reason, maybe it's need, maybe it's something with the medical situation or what have you, concerns of some sort, and sometimes it's just how the board fell and, what the teams needed, and somebody may have picked something that they really needed maybe a little bit more than somebody else. Some teams do that, and it always pushes players to the next day. So I know, if you pick early in the second round, you almost kind of feel like it's a do-over of the first round, where you have all day and all night tonight to kind of think about what's there, how you're looking at it, what's going to fall to you, and then a little bit like that in the fourth round, because you have, that day, that time after the third round's done, and then the morning before the fourth round begins to really evaluate it and kind of start putting some pieces together. But there's some really good football players that are going to go tomorrow and going to go Saturday. So there's plenty left on the board, that's for sure.
All right, that's Josh McDaniels, head coach of the Raiders, with some draft philosophy as we're back on the draft special, day 2, along with Kirk Morrison, who's in town, Eric Allen, Q Myers, I'm JT. Thanks for watching on the YouTube channel and listening to the flagship. I want to get to that. I love that soundbite because he's right on. If you have an early second-round pick, you got to believe that it was a first-round player that dropped. And when you get to the third round, you better hope that you're getting day 2, second-round type of ability, and that's what the Raiders are looking for.
No doubt about it. And right now, if you look at the board, there's some day 1 talent that's still there. There's some guys that a lot of people, including myself, were shocked that didn't go in the first round, and that's why I asked the question last night was, were you surprised? Was the team surprised that certain players dropped? And, of course, I told them, I know you can't give me names that you're looking at, obviously, but I still want to know if you're kind of shocked by that. And so I feel like so much talent, and there's so many people in this draft, so many players involved in this draft, that there's going to be some real quality talent when the Raiders are on the board, whenever they decide, if it's at 86, if they move up, or if they move back.
Kirk, tell us about the history of this Belichick tree. Coaches leave, they go somewhere else, and they fail. They're Matt Patricia. You look at some of the other names, usually because they go to a really bad team.
Correct.
And they go to a bad team, and it's tough to turn it around. Josh McDaniels is coming to a 10-win team with a lot of good players, and then before he even coaches a game, they bring in Davante and Chandler Jones. What are your expectations for him and Dave Ziegler together jumping into their first draft?
Well, I kept saying this, that when Josh got the job, I said that that's the perfect fit for him because it's his second opportunity. I remember when he first took the Denver job, right? Because we were going up against those with the team, I remember. And he really didn't embrace the players who were there. It was, I'm coming in to bring in my system my way. And he got rid of Jay Cutler. Remember Brandon Marshall? He just came in and just started getting rid of guys. And it really sent the ripple down, I thought, the Denver Broncos. And obviously they didn't have the best of seasons, and he was quickly out. And so he took some time away, obviously goes back to New England, things like that. But his second time around, I felt like he wanted to come in and truly embrace what you have, but also put their stamp on it. He embraced Derek Carr. He realizes, hey, I have a quarterback that can execute my system. I don't have to teach. I don't have to bring a rookie in. No, this is the guy who can help our offense, and I'm going to make sure I gear an offense around him. Now we got to add players. You add players around, and it's a totally different aspect now when you look at the way that his vision, you can see his vision on how this team is going to look.
That's a great point because, we can talk and say everything that under the sun, positive ways, but it's what are your actions?
Correct.
So the first thing he talked about was relationships, right? That's the first thing he said. The difference of me coaching now opposed to Denver is my relationships. with the players, with the front office, with everyone, right? So what are his actions? He comes in, and we talked about it earlier. You don't come in and start releasing guys.
Right.
You come in and you sign guys.
Yes.
Okay? Max Crosby, Derek, Davante Adams. You come in and you say, you know what? This is a family. Okay, we're going to bring these guys in. This is what we want to do. This is our direction. This is the focus we want. So incredibly good job there. Right. And then you have to get ready for the draft, obviously. And the draft, you want to bring in your kind of players. And it just felt like in Denver, and some of the things he talked about was he felt like he had to be in every room delivering the message, right? Special teams, defense, receiver room, every room, sit in. It's hard to handle. You have to be able to delegate authority. You have to be able to delegate positions. And I think he's done an outstanding job here. You talk about our defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, having the relationship with Patrick and understand that he's going to put the defense in a position to win football games based on our collective kind of our tree and where we all started. So I think it's very important, and he's different now because of those things that happened in Denver.
Yeah, I embrace the Patriot way. They won.
Yeah,
Josh
I'm
McDaniels
not mad
got
at
six
that.
Super Bowls, right, with Josh. So there's never been a coordinator or assistant who has that many Super Bowls ever in the league taking over as head coach. So that means a lot here. There was a really good play caller in Coach Gruden back in the day, and his mind and how unique it was. And there were great coaches here who weren't retained because there's a new regime here, and they're building up this reputation with their coaches there. Q, I want to start with you about these coaches now. What I think they've been doing here for the last 2 months is evaluating the roster. And I talked to Dave Ziegler about that. I think it's more important than the draft. He's got to look at the roster and say, Jonathan Abram, are you going to be here or not? Cleveland Farrell, are we going to trade you? Max Crosby, we're going to extend you. All of that. And they just got here. They haven't even moved their kids out of school. Right. What do you think about the evaluation and what they've been doing with the roster, keeping players or letting players go?
I think it goes back to what EA said about, delegating, you know, because that's what he's been able to do. They brought in Champ Kelly. I think Champ Kelly was one of those guys that is not getting enough credit or not enough conversation about. They brought in an assistant GM. They didn't have an assistant GM before. So Dave Ziegler can evaluate the roster. Champ Kelly can look at the draft. They had to get all this together at the same time, you know, and they didn't have very much time to work with, but they were able to say, yes, we're going to extend Crosby. We're going to extend Carr. We're going to bring in Chandler Jones. And, oh, by the way, we're also putting our big board together. So I think that being able to trust, I think that's a big key word, is trust the guys around them that they brought in to know that they can get the job done. Dave Ziegler mentioned that the other day. I know that Champ Kelly's going to do it the way that we want to do it without me sitting over his shoulder saying, are you doing it the right way? Because I trust him.
Kirk, how big is that? Who's staying, who's going? Because it's the cap, right? And you're looking at the numbers here, and that had a lot to do with Derek's extension, not getting that massive guaranteed $60 million going forward, as they're taking a look at the numbers here behind the scenes with that department, trying to figure out who's going to be here and who they have to let go.
Yeah, but it's still part of that evaluation. Yeah. And it's an everyday evaluation for a lot of these players. And you come in and you have this offseason, and you really got to know, are you understanding of your role may change than what you are accustomed to. You got drafted with a different regime. They may have asked you to do different things. We're going to ask you to do this. And so some guys you have to buy in. That's what the buy-in is really all about. We know that Hunter Renfro's next up in terms of contract extensions. What is that number going to look like? And where does it fit on the Raiders' salary cap? Everyone's in the NFL is working with the same salary cap. And I think the Raiders have a situation where you have these great players in some areas, but now today is where they have to draft well. That's what the NFL has shown me, is that when you have the signal caller, when you've got a couple of elite players at some certain positions, now you have to fill that in with players in the draft, whether undrafted, third round, fourth round, whatever it may be. That's how you're able to sustain the success. And I think that's how they're starting. Lock our guys up who we know are mainstay, but we're going to have to do our work with the 1-year guys or free agents or even the guys who are drafted later in the rounds in the draft.
Yeah, let's go to Darren Waller. So the news came out of Green Bay, and it was just one report in Green Bay that he could have been available in the Davante trade, which wasn't accurate because of Davante and the tag situation. Now you look at Darren Waller going forward and his production and what it's going to look like, because he agreed to the terms of his extension when he got a little bit more money, but he's still not paid at the ability that he has, but he wasn't available a lot at the end of last year. They got him back for the playoffs. Take me through the mindset now of Darren Waller coming into the season.
First of all, we can't let outside noise affect what's going on in the building. So hopefully, they've addressed that with Darren and hey, we can't control what other people say, but in the building, here's how we feel about you. So that's the first thing. Take care of that business and don't allow that outside noise to come and affect you. Darren's an incredibly good player, and he has the potential to be a once in a 10-year period tight end. He can flex outside. He can block. He can catch the 50-50 balls. He can do everything you want him to do, run after catch. The most important thing about Darren is he's going to get better. He's still not at the level. You see some of his routes; they could get better. You see some of the run after the catch; it's not fluid yet. So he's still in that learning process. He's still going to get better. And I think with Davante Adams in the room, that will allow him to learn and soak up some of those things to get better. But just as a pure player, there's no way that you can line up a player that can match up with him one-on-one. Corner's not going to be big enough. Safety's not going to be fast enough. Linebacker's not going to be able to swivel and get to those right leverages quick enough. He is a matchup nightmare. And with this next 4 to 5 weeks of him on the football field with Davante, I think it's going to just blow the top off of his potential and what he could be.
Well, and on top of that, I mean, he's always had all the attention on him when he's on the football field. Now, when he's on the football field, you have to pay attention to Davante. You have to pay attention to Hunter Renfrow. He's not going to be doubled all the time, so he's going to have more opportunity to flourish, to be successful, to have those opportunities. And he knows by the Crosby deal, by the Carr extension, I go out there and put in the work.
Yeah,
I'll get my money.
Yeah.
Kirk, we didn't talk to you in the first hour about this. What do you think of the AFC West now that you're in L.A. and you covered on the broadcast team of the Rams who won a world championship, and what a job they did. All the moves here. Tyreek Hill's now out of the division. Thank God. He gave this team nightmares. Kelsey's still there. Yeah. We talked about how good Herbert is. And then we haven't mentioned Russell Wilson going to Denver, but Denver had to give up some pieces to go get him. So handicap the AFC West for me.
Well, it's scary. And why I say it's scary because you have to have two good tackles. Okay, you got to have a great left tackle and a great right tackle, because you're thinking week in and week out what you're going up against. When it comes to the Raiders, hey, you got to worry about Chandler Jones, Max Crosby coming at your quarterback. You think about what the Chiefs did last night. They went out and grabbed George Karlaftis, teaming him up with Frank Clark and Chris Jones in the middle. Randy Gregory, Bradley Chubb over there in Denver, right? And then we saw Khalil Mack, our former Raider. He goes to the Chargers, and he'll be teamed up with Joey Bosa. So you have to have your tackles in order, and that's going to be the big. When I think of AFC West, I need to know these tackles are going to have to play their butts off week in and week out, because these pass rushers are going to get after the quarterback. You mentioned the quarterbacks in the division, obviously with Russell Wilson, and then you throw in, obviously Patrick Mahomes and what he's been able to do. And sort of, I think the wild card in all of this is Justin Herbert, because he's the young pup in the division. Everybody else is a little bit older, and Justin Herbert has to prove he hasn't been to the playoffs yet. Everybody else has. So he's the one guy that has to pick it up. So that's why I'm looking, how do you rank the quarterbacks? So I'm looking at what they've accomplished, what they've done. And this is it's a hierarchy the AFC West is right now.
Every year I put up with this on the radio. People calling me. They set the Raiders total at 8.5.
Right.
They put Denver and the Chargers at 10. I said the Raiders are the reason why Fangio got fired. He went 0 for 4 in his last 4.
Yeah.
Last I looked, the Chargers lost to the Raiders and didn't make the playoffs at Allegiant Stadium. And they have them at 10 for the win total and the Raiders at 8.5. And I said this because a lot of people think there could be a step back for a new coach and a GM. I disagree. I think the Raiders are loaded now, but the division queue is so hard that you might lose a game in the division, and then the Raiders' schedule coming off that on the road this year. It's one of the toughest in football.
Look, 9 wins might win the division. I mean, it might, because it's going to be one of those where they might just beat each other up. And the funny thing about it is, I know that there's a lot of talent in the division. I know there's a lot of great quarterbacks. I kind of look at the sidelines and say that could be a difference maker. Nathaniel Hackett's a first-time head coach. Josh McDaniels, I know he's a second-time head coach. I know he wasn't very successful in Denver, but he's been there, done that. So I think that one of the equalizers is going to be, how good is Nathaniel Hackett in Denver? How good is that going to be? Because he didn't call plays last year either. That was Matt LaFleur that called plays in Green Bay. That wasn't Hackett.
Or Brandon Staley.
Or Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
He's going to have to.
We know he'll go for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got a lot to prove.
Don't get me going. Don't get me going.
Keep going for it.
I hope they never fire him. Going for it. What did he go for? Was it 4th and 6?
It was 4th and 13. I believe.
Yeah, whatever. That was crazy.
And his side.
Inside his own 30.
You know why he did that? He was so confident that he was going to get that first down. Yeah. He was so confident that the Chargers were that much better than the Raiders. And when we did the post-game show that night, that was arguably the greatest regular season game. Yeah. It's on the Mount Rushmore all time, considering what was on the line with Pittsburgh watching and all of that. And I thought that was an important game. And then, Kirk, also, Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
2 years ago, they won 2 games and 4 games, and they're in the Super Bowl. So the Raiders can do that now. We're not talking about a Raider team that's coming off 4 wins or 6 wins. They're coming off 10.
Yeah, they Cincinnati Bengals caught fire at the right time.
They did.
They found their identity. Now, they had an outstanding wide receiver in Jamar Chase that helped out with that, but that could be the Davante Adams part for the Raiders.
Absolutely.
I think that you just want to get into the tournament. That's what it's really all about. The division is going to be difficult. You win the division, hey, kudos, tip your cap. But what I'm saying is you just want to get into the tournament, get into the playoffs. It's going to be 7 teams. Hopefully you're one of them because you feel like I can go out and win. I can go on the road and win. If I have a home game, I feel like I have a home field advantage, a true home field advantage. And then on top of that is that you feel like now I have the quarterback. I have the weapons. As much as the Raiders, I know people wanted them to go to a Super Bowl, but to them to lose on the road to Cincinnati, I thought for Derek, that was his first start in the playoffs.
Yes.
Right. Like, he is going to be better. I know it drove him to, I got to get back to this position. So that's why I'm saying there's a lot of guys that gained a ton of experience that a lot of these Raider teams prior didn't have that experience of coming off of a playoff appearance where they played well and had an opportunity all the way into the last drive.
Yeah, we talked about this last year, that the Raiders lost to Daniel Jones, Taylor Heineke, and Justin Fields. When you looked at that, and we sat there and said, how did that happen? Then you could add on those wins, but on top of that, they won 5 games, on walk-offs or kicks, and that could have went either way, right? Yeah. A fumble, a turnover there. So I think a lot of handicappers think that number's going to come back, and maybe the Raiders can't win all those games. But Q, I think there's going to be 2 teams. Obviously, the division winner and a wild card. 2 out of the 7 is going to come out of the AFC West, maybe 3. But as I said, it's going to be a bloodbath getting out of that division, and it's going to have to be which team is healthiest at the end of the year, and that hasn't been the strong point of the Raiders the last couple of years. The injuries,
and that's why you've got to build up that depth. And that's why the 3rd round picks, the 4th round picks, the 5th round picks are important, because you don't necessarily have to have guys that are going to be day 1 starters, but you have to have guys that you feel confident in when their number's called. Is that guy going to be a liability, or is he going to be an asset? So you're looking for assets in this draft, and that's what the sweet spot is, that these 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. Can this guy be somebody and turn into a big-time player, Captain Kirk came from the 3rd round. Big-time player. I mean, those are facts.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important, though, injuries, when we talk about our football team and just the NFL as a whole, particularly talking about offensive line, because that unit has to have a great working relationship with all 5 of those guys, right? I mean, the center is so important to being able to help the guards and the quarterback understand what the linebackers are doing, if the shifts up front are doing, what the defensive tackle is looking like. So critically important that health is really, really an issue for this football team, particularly on the offensive line.
But you brought up something that I don't think people understand and truly have to know. I admire Josh McDaniels from where he came from because of what you said, situational football.
Yeah.
And the Raiders haven't been the best situational football team in years past, whether it's closing out the half, the right way, not giving up a 3 or maybe getting a 3, or in a 4-minute drill, red zone. Like, these are the types of things that the Patriots have done a very good job at. Josh McDaniels has been a great mentor for many years and worked relation, obviously, with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. But that's the part of the game I thought that the Raiders had lacked in years past. And it just takes time. It takes knowledge. But I think emphasizing it and having a play caller play to the needs of what the team is going. You have a feel, hey, our defense isn't playing well. We may need to steal a possession. Or we may have to have a 4-minute drive to keep our defense off the field. Those are the types of things I think the Raiders will be so much better at. You talked about those last-minute or walk-off wins. There may be more of those just because the Raiders are just more understanding of situational football that I felt like they was always lacking.
I just like to see some blowouts. I want to get EA. I want to get hard. EA comes down to the
No, you
post
don't,
game.
JT. No, you don't.
No, you know what? How many times did you and I at the game go and sit? We'd have to get to the post game, and we'd sit there, and it'd be overtime, or there'd be balls. I'm like, can't they win by 10? It was crazy. But I'll tell you, and we'll come back, and we're brought to you by Coors Light. I want to get to this on the other side. How much fun did we have with all those dramatic games? If you and your dad and your family, long-term season ticket holders, if you were a season ticket holder to the Raiders last year at Allegiant Stadium, no matter how much that ticket cost, wherever you sat, that was probably the coolest place to be the entire year for the entertainment pregame, the big concerts halftime. You got a nightclub in the end zone, and then you got games going into overtime and all these exciting comebacks. And we'll wrap it up when we come back, and we're brought to you by Coors Light. And guys, how about we use this opportunity? Remember the can with Coach Flores, the Iceman?
Yeah.
Let's all say something quick about Coach Flores and what he means to us.
I mean, Coach Flores is Coach Flores. He's that guy that was that calm voice that you knew he felt very confident what he was going to do and kept the team calm, something that I know Jim Plunkett has said to me many times, that he always kept us calm because he never overreacted on the sidelines.
Super Bowl winning coach. I mean, that to me is a select few. There's only been, it's been 56 Super Bowls, right?
Right.
He holds one of those rings. So for me, that's what I think of with Coach Flores is one of the head coaches. To win the championship with the Raiders.
Hall of Famer.
Just so cool. Hall
Relax.
of Famer now. Kicking back, was the coach of my team, and really the team really flourished under him, and they had this great poise about them when he was on the sideline.
Coming up next, we'll give you our final thoughts as we get ready for day 2 with the Raiders with their 3rd round pick. You're listening to Raiders Radio on the Raiders flagship, Raider Nation Radio, 920 AM.
A deal involving Super Bowl winning quarterback Russell Wilson.
The AFC West will include Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, and Russell Wilson.
Some breaking news that we bring you here today. Khalil Mack is on the move.
The terms are now agreed to. Khalil Mack about to be an LA Charger.
The AFC West is stacking up. It looks like an all-star game.
Well, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, J.C. Jackson, is now coming to the Chargers.
It seems like every big-name player these days going to the AFC West.
I'll tell you what, you got to give big props to the Denver Broncos for what they've done so far in this offseason. They land a franchise quarterback, and now you get one of the best pass rushers in this league.
This looks like a 3 playoff team division to me. When you look at it, it's just absolutely stacked.
Sometimes it's survival of the fittest, and maybe the team out of the AFC West wound up winning it all this year.
We all know what the Chiefs can do. The Broncos and Chargers are loading up. Now, all eyes are on the Raiders.
When the Raiders drafted me, hey, my whole goal of my life came true. I go to the Senior Bowl, opening kickoff, I'm running down the field, I go right into the wedge, the guy sticks up his elbow, this big guy, bam, right in my eye. I couldn't see, I'm like, oh man, I get up, come to the sideline, and he goes, hey Phil, we got no backups. I said, don't worry about me, I can play. I went wacky that day, and I made all these tackles. Al Davis, he met me after the game, he waited for me, and he came up to me and said, nice game, Villapiano. And I never could forget that voice or that smile or his hair. It was pretty cool, but I think he liked because I got the black eye. I looked like the Raider with the patch. And then came draft day. I invited all my buddies to come to my place. I bought the beer, I bought the subs, I bought everything. It started like 9 o'clock in the morning. By noon, I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's break out the beer. My mother called like 3 times. Philip, are you gonna call us or whatever? I said, Mom, I'm waiting on the call. Stop calling me. It was about 7 o'clock. Phone rings, and I get on the phone with Ron Wolf, and I said, Ron, can I ask you a question? What round? He goes, oh, second. And I said, what took so long? He goes, well, back in those days, there was no rules about half hour, 15 minutes, and all that stuff. They just took as long as they wanted to take. So when they said second round, Oakland Raiders, wow, that was beautiful. I had seen the Raiders play. I loved the way they played. I loved their colors. But to get drafted there, never even thought about it. It ended up perfect.
Forever live alongside greatness by purchasing a personalized legacy brick to be displayed at Allegiant Stadium. Join the likes of Hall of Famers, Super Bowl champions, and many other Raider legends. All proceeds directly benefit the Raiders Foundation, the organization's charitable arm that is committed to increasing community and civic health in Nevada. Cement your place in history with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity by visiting Raiders.com/bricks.
JT back with you on the YouTube channel here of the Raiders and on Raider Nation Radio, 9:20 a.m. Thanks to Damon, everybody here at HQ for doing this. We're going to go around and start with you, Kirk Morrison, on at least the position that you think the Raiders will attack here in the third round.
Well, I think I'm going to lean on my position.
Yeah.
I think they may go linebacker here. You know what I mean? And only because I think Denzel has proven, hey, Pro Bowl performance. Divine, we're still trying to figure out what kind of linebacker he's going to be. I love the addition of Jay and Brown, Fackrell as well. So you've got some position players at linebacker that you like, but I think drafting another one to add to that depth as well. Are we talking about 2 linebackers on the field? Are we going to get into some base personnel type things? But remember last year when the Raiders – their linebacking core was just was damaged, was hurt. Like, all the time. So if you can draft another guy who you can develop, bring along, and then if he becomes a starter, that's great. It's even better for you. So I'm a lean on linebacker. I think that they go.
EA, thinking of Patrick Graham now and the concepts that are going to be here, versatility is a big word you hear around the Patriots way back then. Players that can play multiple positions, help out there. So what are you thinking with
defensive
the
back? Obviously.
Look at these.
Bring another
DB swing games, baby.
DB on the roster.
I like that, though.
Again, that shows you looking for a guy in the third, fourth round that is versatile. You know, a longer guy that we can kind of teach if we need to become that corner who can guard 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", defensive receivers. And I think that's critically important. They're so just multiple in the way they look at coverage that you need a variety of different cover guys. And if you can find a safety who used to play corner, now he's a ball hawk, but you need to just teach him a little leverage skills here and there. Yeah. They develop so many great defensive backs in the Patriots, you know, and I think they learned so much from having those years with Darrelle Revis. He taught them that you don't need to run a 4-3 to be a good cover guy, and I think that's what this coaching staff does. They'll bring an experienced player on their football team, learn from him, and learn how to teach those techniques. And so I think a slash corner, bigger safety kind of guy.
Q?
I was going to roll with the defensive back as well, and I'm actually going to throw a name out there. I'm going to throw out there Kobe Bryant from Cincinnati, played across from Sauce Gardner. If he's there, he's there. He's a Jim Thorpe Award winner. I mean, the dude could play some ball. I like him a lot. I like Tariq Woolen out of UTSA as well. But those are the two guys I'm really looking at.
Outstanding. Kirk, we were talking about offensive linemen, and I know they're going to get an offensive lineman somewhere.
Correct.
But on cutdowns on June 1st and what's going to happen with cap issues with teams here, I really think that's going to be the important signing coming up here this summer, is bringing in an offensive lineman from another team, cap hit, someone who gets cut, we're familiar with, knows can play, maybe coming off an injury in camp, and they can put him on the roster. Richie Incognito was supposed to be that guy for 2 years here, but he wasn't available. I hope they find a guy like Richie who could be available and be that type of veteran.
Yeah, I think they're going to scour, all the guys with expiring contracts too. That's another situation. I was looking at Dwayne Brown. I know he may not want to move from left tackle over to right, but you got guys who have a year or two left. You won't get a long-term deal, but a one-year deal to come in, and hopefully the guy that you draft can evaluate. You could push him up as the years go by. So they're going to find that post-June 1st addition to the offensive line.
That's critically important to find that depth because of what happened last year. And again, totally different coaching staff, obviously, but offensive line is offensive line. Right. And you need to have your offensive line going into the season feeling comfortable, feeling confident, understanding the scheme, knowing what you need to do.
Q, it's tonight. What do you think? It's that you think the crowd's going to be bigger?
Oh yeah,
on
bigger.
Friday. Kids
night.
are coming
Friday
down.
night. It's Las
Parents
Vegas.
don't need a sitter. They're coming down.
The Raiders pick, man. The Raiders pick is going to be fun.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of Raider fans. Raider Nation has showed up and showed out in a major way.
Kirk, what else you have lined up here? What's going on the rest of the weekend?
Just post-draft coverage tonight. Yeah,
tell everyone where they can find you on social.
Channel 88 on Sirius tonight, post-draft and the analysis. You can find me at Kirk Morrison, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. So I've been a man amongst the people. So I'm about to get back. I'm going to go amongst the people. But I'll tell you this, I cannot wait to pick 86 because I think this the convention center, the link, the Bellagio fountains, it will erupt because everybody's seeing who's going to come to the beautiful city of Las Vegas.
Yeah, it'll be the first one.
How are you going to top what you did last night? You were
I'm just soaking it all
photos, hanging out with your legends.
I'm just soaking it all in. I mean, I just love to see the Raider legends just hanging around, and I love the conversations we have with them because it doesn't matter where they played. They always have some great input on what's going on right now.
Thanks to our entire team on YouTube who put this streaming up today. We really love it. Everyone behind the scenes at Raider Nation Radio, everyone here at HQ.
Yes.
Eddie and the whole team behind the scenes, Eddie Pascal, what a great crew today. Thanks for having us in studio today. We will see you out on the streets in Vegas. Come on out, Raider Nation, wear black, and have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to the Raiders Radio Network on Raider Nation Radio, 920 AM.